Hey everyone, welcome to Dad Casual, where full-time dads and casual gamers come together to discuss everything we love about the games we wish we had more time to play. Thanks for being here. If you would, please take a moment to follow and subscribe on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and your podcast platform of choice. And if you ever have any questions, topics, or thoughts, feel free to email dadcasualpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And without further ado, this is Dad Casual. What's up, guys? This is episode 7 of Dad Casual. On this episode, we discuss gaming news of the week, what we've all been up to, what defines a remake, and are they actually worth it? As usual, we have Preston Jensen.
What's up? What's up?
Andy Bond.
Hey, everybody.
And I am Houston Dragna. So, Preston, Andy, what's up, dudes?
How's it going? It's going awesome. This is a pretty fun week. You know, we just had a Labor Day weekend, and it's always nice when you have a 3-day weekend and then only a 4-day week, because that's how it always works.
Yes.
Is today Labor Day? Is that how it goes? Is the Monday the Labor Day?
It is.
Where you don't labor?
It's the day for the laborers, where you usually get in all the laboring that you can't do when you're doing your work-related laboring. You got to do your home-related laboring.
Wait, is that really what it is?
So shouldn't it be Laborers Day?
I don't know.
Are we redefining it right now?
No, we're looking it up.
I honestly, I would ask you,
Here's
please don't make fun of us if we're dumb and we're supposed to know this.
Yeah, so here's what it is. Labor Day, according to the dictionary, when I looked it up on Google.
Speak up, Sonny.
Is a public holiday or day of festivities held in honor of working people in the U.S. and Canada on the first Monday in September. In many other countries on May 1st. So we're just celebrating people who work.
So it is Laborers Day.
Yeah,
but it also says it's celebrating the work from the labor movement, which is the labor laws we have in this country.
Yeah, that's a little confusing.
Which is why that makes it more of an American holiday rather than this worldwide general holiday.
Yeah, that does make sense. Well, one good thing about...
At least North American.
North American, yeah. One good thing about Labor Day, and I'm always excited about it, is my birthday is always around Labor Day. Because I'm September
happy birthday,
1st,
dude.
So...
Happy birthday, Preston.
we told them already, audience, but, you guys get to join in now. So leave a comment, send us an email, wish Preston a happy birthday.
Can I leave my Venmo and Cash App and all of that?
Yeah. We'll put your QR code on the YouTube video this week.
You get anything cool for your birthday? Did your kid do anything for you?
My kid got me some new shoes. I love.
Did she get the shoes?
So some Prestos, some Nike Prestos.
Nice. Prestos for Preston.
Yep. That's perfect.
Yep. And then my wife got me this awesome new desk that I am loving and using right now. So yeah,
we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Still going good?
Still going great. So yeah, we hung out, went to dinner with some friends, and we went out dancing. And at 38, my knees are not made for dancing at midnight. So I was hurting the next morning, but it was a lot of fun.
Oh man.
But I didn't get to play many games this week.
That was the first time I've been dancing since a cruise ship 5 years ago, and the cruise ship there were 8 people dancing. There was no one there. So for me, this was I felt pretty old.
Yep.
But then also I was surprised there were a lot of older people there too. So I guess that's just me. I think, I don't know.
It was a lot of fun.
You've made it. You're in that crowd now.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and get to it. So we have a few smaller news stories that we'll get to, and then we have some pretty interesting topics to kind of dive into. First of all, we wanted to give you guys an update. So if you are a Xbox Game Pass member or a PS Plus member, we wanted to go through the games that are coming in September. We thought that was something that's interesting. It's not free games, but no extra costs to you games if you're already a subscriber. And so for Xbox, so there's 2 categories. There's if you have games with gold, you're getting Portal 2, which is one of my personal all-time favorite games. I love that game. Double Kick Heroes, Thrillville, and Gods Will Fall. I'm actually not familiar with most of these games, but figure we might as well say them so anybody that's interested can take advantage of that. And if you have Game Pass, you're going to get Moon Scars, Grounded, Slime Rancher 2, Beacon Pines, Hard Space, Shipbreaker, and one that I thought was pretty cool was Outer Wilds, but it seems like it may only be for Xbox Series X owners. I'm not sure of the exact reasoning behind that, but take that with a grain of salt. Look it up for yourself if you have any questions about more like details and stuff, but I thought that was kind of cool. And then moving on to PS Plus games. Let's see, I have this list loaded real quick. We have some pretty good ones in here. So for the September monthly games, Need for Speed Heat is one of them, which I've played before and I actually did really enjoy. Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, which is a fighting game from the Grand Blue series. And then Toem, which is a like cartoonish, it seems like it's a photographing game. I think I've heard of it, but I haven't really gotten into it. Have you guys heard of Toem before? That it based on the art, it looks like it's like a really well thought out, like interesting looking game.
Yeah. It says you use your photographic eye to uncover the mysteries of the magical Toem in this hand drawn adventure game. You chat, solve their problems.
There you go.
You solve their problems by snapping neat photos and make you through a relaxing landscape.
It looks does seem very calm, but I guess
it almost has like a if Cuphead was in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting Adventure Time vibes as well on the art style.
Yeah, I see that too. But then also like it's like Pokemon Snap. Like you're taking photos of things. It's kind of cool.
That's cool. The little idle games is like a newer category that's kind of existed, and this kind of seems like it's a little in that vein. It's just
black and white's interesting. I don't play a lot of black and white games.
I wonder if it all black and white.
Like create. Yeah, I wonder if you like create color because there are games like that where it's like what's it called, Chicory? It's where like you can like paint the world into existence kind of thing. And Concrete Genies like that as well.
Yeah. I'm scrolling through just like Google Photos right now to see if there's ever color, and I'm not seeing anything.
Interesting. A whole black and white game.
But it's very stylistic though. It's like it totally doesn't need it. If anything, I think this makes it look more unique and original.
The Verge says Toem is a charming photography game in black and white, a silly and relaxed exploration game.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm into that. Yeah. Oh man, that's the kind of game too that you're surprised you find out. You're like, wait, this game's only 4 hours, kind of like Stray.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, bro, I'll play this whole game. Like,
nice.
Most of the time, AAA games are the ones I don't finish. It's the small indies that I'm like we're gonna talk about Cult of the Lamb later, and like I basically have finished that game, and I like feel good about it. Like it feels nice when you play a smaller game.
That's awesome.
Nice. Well, moving along to PlayStation Plus premium or extra and premium subscribers, you're going to get the following this month: Deathloop, which is definitely the biggest one on that list, I think. And so I actually went ahead and bought it a few months ago because it was on like a crazy sale, like more than half off or something like that. And I've been having a lot of fun with it. I haven't finished it by any means. I'm still a long way off. It's pretty challenging, but definitely check into that because most people gave it a 10.
Yeah. I heard it's not their best game. Like I hear it doesn't like. Some people really like the Dishonored series. And,
see, I don't. It was the opposite for me.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, this struck a chord with me way more than Dishonored did for whatever reason. I think it's like I'm the more I play and the more we talk about this, the more I find that like theming of games actually has a lot to do with like how much I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Sure,
like that's probably the reason I've stayed away from the Souls games for as long as I have, because of that like Lovecraftian, like super dark and eerie, like creepy vibe. It doesn't gel with me.
Maybe that's the same with me in like kind of JRPGs because like for example, like just like you said, Souls games, I mean, they kind of are JRPGs a little bit, but they're also action games. I like those games, but then the Final Fantasy style, it's just that style. It's so to me not appealing, and maybe if I would have clicked, it would have clicked earlier when I was younger. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, I would say too, Houston. What's interesting about this is our game, the games we like, you and I, are very vastly different. And I would agree with you on the Dishonored series. Like I wasn't a fan I tried it on.
Yeah,
I just didn't like it, but this one, I bought it too. I think I got this one day one because I was like, this looks awesome.
Yeah. They also marketed the hell out of this game.
Yeah, they did.
The marketing did a lot because it's like a spy thriller.
Yeah,
like late 70s kind of vibe with the color. Actually, the color palette's the same as our logo, which I love.
It seemed to have good voice acting too. Like the main
voice
character.
acting's incredible. I love that kind of like I said, the spy thriller kind of vibe to it. Cool. And yeah, it's a hoot and a half for sure.
I'm gonna jump on that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on, Assassin's Creed Origin. Smash hit from the Assassin's Creed franchise, from what I understand. It's based in Egypt. Definitely want to check that out. Watch Dogs 2. Haven't played a Watch Dogs game. Very appealing to me.
It's so
the
fun.
second one's the one. That's the one to play.
Okay.
I bought that day one too. Love it.
Watch Dogs is a weird franchise because the first game was buggy and gloomy, and it just wasn't fun, I think was the problem. And it's like, it almost felt like Watch Dogs 2 was a reboot because they were like, it was a total turnaround. Like it was all fun, all cool. Like it almost had it wasn't like full GTA or like Saints Row silly. It wasn't maybe that far, but at times, I mean, it kind of is, but I liked it a lot.
Nice. Yeah, it takes itself a little less seriously than the first one. So that's good to hear. Moving down the list, we blow through these a little bit faster. Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2, which I think is an MMORPG, but Dragon Ball?
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken. It may not be MMO, but it is an RPG.
No, it's not an MMO. It's Xenoverse is actually like third person flying through the world, doing
Brawler
missions
and action
stuff.
RPG is how they're describing it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm a Dragon Ball fan, so I definitely might check that out.
Yeah, it was popular.
Gotcha. Spiritfarer. So this one I've heard of. I'm not really aware of it at all. It does seem like the kind of like shorter indie, like Journey kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, I remember Spiritfarer coming on the PlayStation Direct one time. Very, very indie, very storytelling. The kind of vibe I got, not necessarily in gameplay, but just the feeling was Life is Strange. Yeah, Life is Strange.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of had that like, oh, indie, this is kind of maybe an interesting story with some good characters, but very hand-drawn art style. It's cool.
Yeah, this description real quick from the PlayStation blog that we're reading this off of says, this management game about dying has you playing as Stella, ferrymaster to the deceased. Build a boat, explore the world, then befriend and care for spirits before finally releasing them into the afterlife. Farm, mine, fish, harvest, cook, and craft your way across mystical seas. Join the adventure as Daffodil the cat in 2-player co-op mode, which that's kind of cool to hear about a management game to have a co-op mode. Spend a relaxing quality time with your spirit passengers, create lasting memories, and ultimately learn how to say goodbye to your cherished friends. So
yeah, 84 on Metacritic too. That's pretty good.
Okay. And then the last few, Chicory. So I just mentioned that earlier. So it's a game where you play like this little dog and you like paint the world into existence kind of thing.
Yep.
Yeah. So that looks cool. It's like a puzzle Zelda-esque type game. But yeah, it looks very, very cute.
A lot of indie games.
Mm-hmm. Monster Energy Supercross, which is a motocross game if you're into that. Alex Kidd and Miracle World DX. That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
Rabbids Invasion, Rayman Legends, which I've actually played a little bit, which is really fun.
Amazing game with your kids.
Rabbids
Jump on Rayman Legends.
I thought Rabbids was Nintendo.
It's an Ubisoft property.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not exclusive to Nintendo, although a lot of the titles have been on Nintendo systems.
You're thinking of Mario Plus Rabbids, which was a crossover.
Yeah, but Rabbids is a Ubisoft property. And they have standalone games, or at least a couple of them.
Yeah. And both of the Mario Rabbids games were made by Ubisoft, not Nintendo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is an interactive TV show, not a game in the traditional sense. So
interesting.
That's weird.
Yep.
Cool.
Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game complete edition for PS4.
That's an 8-bit game, I think.
And then there's a bevy of PS classics as well: Siphon Filter, Sly Collection, Sly Cooper, Thieves in Time, Bentley's Hack Pack, and Toy Story 3, Kingdom of Paradise, and it looks like that's it. So yeah, there's quite a bit of games coming. If you're not taking advantage of these deals and you're a PlayStation or Xbox owner, maybe consider it. It's a pretty big list of games that are just coming to you at no extra charge.
Yeah, and let us know if you like us like rolling through these like this and just really fast, because every month we're going to have this, and it's awesome. It's just hard to talk about all that just once a week.
So much.
But I mean, I think if we haven't sold you on PS Plus or Game Pass at this point, it's a great value.
They Xbox and PlayStation did their homework, man. They they got us all hooked.
Yep.
All right. So moving right along to another news story. Xbox Game Pass again has announced Friends and Family. So a Friends and Family plan has been confirmed and initial pricing details have been revealed. So Kat Bailey at IGN states Friends and Family plan members will gain all of the usual benefits of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which includes cloud streaming and a rotating selection of games. While pricing details haven't been revealed in the US, it figures to be roughly, quote unquote, $10 more than the current Xbox Game Pass Ultimate plan, which is currently at $14.99. The plan will allow users to share the cost among multiple people,
interesting,
making it a boon for college students who are just now returning to the dorms. What do we think? Is this a good deal?
How many people?
I mean, they made it five accounts.
Five accounts. Okay.
Yeah.
5 accounts for the price currently says €21.99 a month, because they're testing it. We don't know exactly what.
Yeah. What did they say? $15 and then $10 more, so it's $25.
Yeah. Well, again, they haven't released officially if it would cost any different in the United States, but yeah, in general, yes.
$25, 5 people, $5 a month. I'm on it.
Yeah, what I do have questions about it. Like, you don't have to all be on the same Xbox. This isn't like, hey, we're college students, we stay in a dorm together, and we all share one Xbox. Or is it more like, is it truly that each of us living in different homes can share the same account?
Yeah, I think this is like sharing your Netflix password before they crack down on that. Except they're introducing it instead of taking it away.
Yeah, that's wild, because it makes it even cheaper.
Yeah, and it seems like there's going to be provision for splitting the cost before before the fact. So like everybody can like log into the account separately, pay their $5 for the month, and then it gets activated.
That's going to be awesome. I would say the 3 of us could do that.
There you go.
Says
that would be awesome.
And I went to a frequently asked questions, and it says the only people you can't share your membership with are people who don't live in your country or region. That's it. That's the only limitation.
Then yeah.
Nice.
Because it would be different currency.
Yeah. And it says if the group member, that's cool. Man, what a deal. Especially if you can get up to 5 people to split that, that's
even incredible. 2 people, right? You're saving money? Where's the cost? Right now, if it's $15 and they're going to 25, 15.
I mean, if you split it with one person, you're saving like at least $2.
Yeah, that's what I meant. So
yeah, well, it depends, because you have to get Game Pass Ultimate. There is no other option. So like regular Game Pass is only $10 a month.
Okay,
correct. So if you only wanted regular Game Pass, you wouldn't do Friends and Family with one other person, because you wouldn't be saving money.
Yeah, you have to go to Ultimate,
but it's $14.99 for Ultimate.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. If you were going to get Ultimate anyway, then split it with a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that seems like a no-brainer to me. Like, especially if you have like a group of friends that like regularly play Xbox and are actually taking advantage of Game Pass, then an extra $2 a month for one person, or like going to $5 or $6 per person for 4 or 5 friends.
This really is brilliant. It really backs up Xbox's plan to bring gamers in, right? At this moment, it's almost, do you remember when Netflix was like $7 a month? Like, it was a long time ago, but it's kind of like Disney's that way. It's like in the beginning, it's not about the money. They just want to bring people in. And so by doing these kind of benefits, like, you're going to be inviting your friends in because you want to save a little bit money. And the more people that jump in, the better for you, right? Like if you can get 5 people, you're spending as little as possible at that point. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean, me personally, I could see myself taking advantage of this. 1, if I owned an Xbox, and 2, if I owned a PC, because I think we're all Mac users and only one of us has an Xbox.
Yeah.
But definitely an enticing proposition.
Black Friday's coming up.
Black Friday's coming up. We all get at least a Series S. And then what we can do is we can have a dad casual family membership. Friends and family membership.
and then our listeners can fight over the remaining 2 spots.
Oh, yes, I like that.
Gladiator style, yeah.
Every month we rotate.
We rotate it. That would be
hilarious. You have to beat us in a Halo match.
Oh,
I haven't played Halo in a long time.
I'm going to get beat on that one.
Dude, I'm terrible at it, but I love
you play shooters.
Yeah.
You play shooters. You might be pretty good now.
Yeah.
Cool.
Alrighty. So before we get into today's big main topic, this is kind of a good primer for it. So Metacritic reviews for The Last of Us Part 1, which is the remake of the original Last of Us. They're just calling it The Last of Us Part 1 to go into Part 2, is getting worse reviews currently than the original 2013 release. Okay, before we get into thoughts about that, who here has played The Last of Us Part 1?
Yeah,
I have the original.
I finished it.
Yes, I have. Yes. And I played it and the DLC.
I finished it and played the DLC.
Okay, so we've all played it.
One of the few games I've done that with.
Nice. I love that. I love that for us. So what do we think about this? Like, I mean, I don't really have like a clever way of saying that, but
follow-up question. When's the last time you guys played it? Like, when did you play it? Has it been since 2013?
Yeah.
No, I played it the year. Well, sorry. Go ahead, Preston.
Yeah, I think the last time I played it is when it came out. I think I bought it and played it that couple months and beat it. And then when DLC came out, I played it again or played that part.
So I played the remaster, the PS4 remaster, a few months before Part 2 came out as a primer because I hadn't played it before then. So I haven't played the original build, but I've played the remaster, and the story's incredible. But actually, I haven't played Left Behind, the DLC.
Gotcha. So I played the remaster in December of 2019, anticipating the sequel because I was saying, you know what, Part 2's coming out. There's so much buzz about it. It's time. People were begging me forever.
Probably when I played mine as well.
So I played it through and I just loved it. And because the DLC was already included, it was already included. So I was like, man, I literally finished, rolled credits. I was like, I want more. Yeah. So I went and I booted up Left Behind.
Yeah. So I have some thoughts about like this particular question. Is it worse than the original? There's no possible way it's worse. It's the same game with better graphics, better animations. Like they literally remade it from the ground up. So they took all of the assets. They kind of mapped everything with new textures. It's the same great voice acting. They even had more information from the face captures that they couldn't implement in the first game that they did in this remake. So it looks better. The biggest thing is that it's still a full priced $70 game.
Yeah.
Yeah. My problem with and this is where we get into the remaster versus remake real quick discussion.
This is the third time they've sold it. So just throwing that out there as well. Yeah, they had the original, the remaster, and now the remake.
Mm-hmm. And I remember when I think we might have talked about it on here, but when it was announced, Andy and I were talking about what is the big difference here and what is like the difference in remake, remaster, all of that. And I would say based on the reviews, this is just a little bit of upscale. Like there doesn't seem to be
No, I would actually go against that. It's pretty big. If you've seen the side by sides, like skyboxes are different, facial animations are different, all the textures are different. It is the same game.
I mean,
so I think I stand in between you guys because it's to me, okay, when you were to say like what's a remake? A remake to me is it's in the word. You're making a game. Like you say from the ground up, but I don't think that's true. It is from the ground up. Like they didn't they used all the assets. They didn't do any more mocap. They didn't do any more voice lines or rereads. They didn't yes, the lighting and textures and ray tracing is better, but that's what remasters are for. Like, yes, there are, but without new mocap, that means the motions and the animations might run smoother or be a little different. And there are a few added things like working at your workbench, or you might so that it looks like the way it looks in I know I read a thing where they said it you can see your weapon and spin it around. I was like, oh, I remember because I played I played Uncharted 4. You could do that in Uncharted 4. You could like look at your items and different things like that. And I was like, oh, okay, they kind of took that. And so there's a few added things. It's just hard for me to like justify that as a remake.
So, and I guess we can go ahead and get into the main topic, which is what's in a remake. So, what is the difference between a remake and a remaster? We're already getting into that.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about that. So I guess if I were to throw in my thoughts right there. So
yeah, sorry, I jumped the gun.
No, you're good. You're good. This is all kind of part of it. Like I said, it was a primer for this discussion, so it's working. So a remaster, the way I view it is, I don't know if there's like a percentage that you can really go by of like how much of the original game needs to be like left in it untouched to be qualified for that. But I would say a remaster. So like in like remastering like a music album or a movie, they take the source content and they do something slightly different to it to make it a better product, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of putting makeup on it. They're polishing it. They're not they're not scraping off the foundation, if we're going with the makeup pun, to reapply more foundation, to kind of rebuild the shadows and the eyelashes and all that kind of stuff. They are just cleaning it up a bit, maybe up-resing it from 1080 to 4K, maybe cleaning up the sound, mixing a little bit. Yeah. But I would say that's what defines a remaster. A remake is something that is made again. And so from what I've seen in the behind the scenes videos of The Last of Us Part 1, they claim to truly have taken these like character models and levels. Like there's new AI for the enemies. There are slightly different level designs altogether to make it flow a little bit better. They added combat elements from Part 2. So
apparently there aren't a lot of combat. I need to check that one up, but because like there's a dodge roll mechanic in Part 2, and that is not in Part 1 at all.
Yeah.
Or like you can't climb under the cars like you could. You can't maneuver the way you can in Part 2. So it's not like it's not everything. Like everything is all I'm saying.
Yeah, but they definitely brought it up to be more relevant to like what players currently expect from a Naughty Dog game on PS5.
Yeah, it's just tough because it's like, if it feels to me like, I don't think you could say the whole game was remade, but a lot of the parts of the game were remade is how it feels to me. You're like, because there are some textural elements, some like they showed like a skylight and I was like, oh, that looks completely new. They obviously completely remodeled that environment. But then there are others that I'm like, I don't know. And in ways too, there was something about the style of the people in the original Last of Us that, while not as quote unquote realistic, it like I understand it might have even been almost more cartoony, more like it, but it had a look that I almost liked. And that could just be nostalgia. Like it isn't better, it's just nostalgia.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm somewhere in the middle. I think it's a bit of a stretch to call this a full remake in the same way that I would call Demon Souls by Blue Point was like, bro, that the original Demon Souls doesn't look anything like that.
Yeah. And I guess my last thought, and I'll let Preston have a word in here. It really is up to the publisher and the developer, right? It's whatever like name they really want to slap on it, I guess, is like I don't like that. And I have my own conceptions of what remake versus remaster is. But I mean, if Final Fantasy VII wants to call it a remake or they wanted to call it a remaster, I mean, who am I to like complain? I'm getting a new game.
I mean,
like almost entirely.
I don't know.
And that's where I would argue. Like, didn't they do this with Uncharted, the Nathan Drake collection? The Nathan Drake collection was like $15 though, like from PS3 to PS4.
And they called those remasters, right?
I don't think when it came out it was. I think it was a $60 game when it first was announced.
But that was for multiple games.
Yes, you got 3, right. But they weren't. Okay. I don't even know if they were remastered. Actually, I'd have to check. I don't remember.
Yeah. But
the Legacy of Thieves one were all the remasters. I don't know about the Nathan Drake collection.
Well, they released I remember they released the Nathan Drake collection with PS4, or close to PS4, because they were selling bundles.
Yeah, they were leading up to it was before Uncharted 4 came out, so they were trying to get people to like caught up.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I bought GTA 5 on PS3, PS4, and PS5. So I've owned it on all. But this one, man, as a casual gamer, too, I have to say this. Like, it's not worth it to me to buy it at a $60 price point to play the same game again.
Oh, yeah. I haven't bought it.
It's just not worth it.
I adore this series, but I don't think I'm going to buy it.
Yeah, and it's only the first one, right? Like, I'm not even getting the second one.
Correct. You get the first one in the DLC, but you don't get the multiplayer.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not spending full price.
Well, it depends. Okay, and here's why I'm going to say it depends. I'm not sure they made this game for us. And that's hard to hear for some people. Like, I'm not sure this was necessarily made for the existing fans. I think this is more for there's a lot of people. I mean, it's been 9 years since 2013, almost 10. And so, like, this is the best way to play the game from what I've heard right now. And so, like, with it being this good, and if you were maybe you were interested in part 2, but you were like, I don't want to jump into part 2, and part 1's kind of old now. Like, this is the definitive way to play it. And they've got a show coming out on HBO soon. Yep. Which is, I mean, that's obvious. And so now it's this, and I mean, come on, this winter or maybe next year, you're going to see the bundle, part 1 and part 2, beautiful top, like, just,
you think?
They feel like PS5 games now. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They both feel like full-fledged PS5 level quality games.
And for the listeners,
go ahead.
I was going to say, for the listeners, do not play part 2 without playing part 1.
No, don't.
Even if you play the remastered version,
yes,
on the PS4 version, definitely play it. The story, there's too much you're going to miss, and 1 still holds up. Like, story-wise, it's incredible.
So I looked it up for Uncharted. The Nathan Drake collection. You got all 3 games: Drake's Fortune, Among Thieves, and Drake's Deception. For $60. So you got.
But I don't think they did anything to them other than very minimal, like, slider upgrades. Like, it's from 1080 to 4K.
Yeah.
Whoop. Like, that's all you did. They didn't have animators and modelers. Like,
but that's what I'm saying. Did they call it a remake or a?
They called it a remaster back then. They didn't call it a remake.
None of the original 3 Uncharted games have gotten remakes.
Right? Yeah.
In fact, Naughty Dog has never called a game a remake before this. This is the first one.
This is rough.
So, kind of on the same topic, moving on slightly from The Last of Us, we had a question from one of our friends and listeners, Derek G., who said, what are your thoughts on the oversaturation of remasters and remakes in the gaming world nowadays? And I think that's a great point.
Solid question.
Yeah. Andy, what are you thinking?
I think I'm kind of in the middle. I think I definitely resonate with, like, the idea that, I mean, I would say this across all creative media, from Hollywood to video games, that we do seem to be in an era like never before, where so many of the properties are things that have come out before. There was that period at Disney where I was like, a Lion King, all the live action movies. You remember that, when, like, every single one,
hot garbage, all
and,
of
like,
them.
The Pinocchio one's coming out, and I'm like, okay, but do I care? Like, I don't know. I'm not sure. But then, like, Encanto came out and was like this original Disney movie and was amazing, and, like, I was really into that. And so I don't know. I'm split on games. I still think. I mean, earlier, Houston, you went through games coming to PS Plus. So many that you named that I have not even touched. So are there unlimited games that you could try and play today that are from an IP you've never heard of? Probably. But as far as AAA studio goes, it's mostly sequels or remakes. I mean, Elden Ring might be the most recent one. I don't know. I guess there's not. I don't know.
I'm wondering too if they're playing, to a degree, they are playing on nostalgia, obviously, right?
Oh, yeah,
like
definitely,
100%. Like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, I immediately bought at $12 or whatever it was, because I was like, I have to have this game on my PlayStation 5.
So I think a great point of context is that video games are not that old yet. But the thing is, it's like when some of the greatest ones came out, like, we weren't even born yet. or like we were very little. And so for some of those, I mean, like your Galagas and Centipede stuff, I mean, obviously like that doesn't really merit like a solid remake, more so than just kind of updating a little bit of the graphics and stuff. But like Final Fantasy VII, like we talked about that a lot recently, but like to go from things that were like, I don't know how many polygons, but you could see them, to something that's in 4K 60 with like this breathtaking new world. Like, I think there's definitely a market that, while it definitely is for the money, I think is equally for the art and for reviving the art and introducing that type of beautiful writing and like talent and passion put into a project to a whole new generation of players. And as a service to the players that played it originally, to give them something new to look forward to and to kind of enjoy from the same creator, to kind of revive that world. So, oversaturation, I would say no.
I don't think it's totally oversaturated.
Not yet. I think we might be getting to that point soon, but I do think there's still some room for some selective, interesting remakes.
I mean, if you look at the Game of the Year nominees, like most of them are original games, right?
Yep. I would say yes. I would also say like oversaturation is such a hard thing. There are so many games, so many. Like I don't know,
and so many different types of players.
Yeah, and so many different types of players. But like, I know we talk about AAA games, but you think about all the indie games, like Andy was saying earlier, that I haven't even heard of or touched or, even seen a blip on my radar. Like oversaturation, I don't think will ever happen unless something crazy happens where only AAA games are around.
I mean, you have enough of these buyouts and mergers of companies. I mean,
that's true.
Eventually, that'll be a problem where you have a pseudo monopoly going on.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
So just because I thought about that, I said I just went ahead and went through the Game Awards from the last 3 years, and so like the God of War reboot, that's actually a full on reboot, but okay, that's a previous IP, but then Celeste, Dead Cells, Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
In 2019, you had Devil May Cry 5, Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, Disco Elysium, Apex Legends, Super Smash Ultimate. Like, these aren't remakes. They're sequels. Some of them are sequels, you know. It Takes Two. Bro, It Takes Two was this last year. That was I really want to play that. Elden Ring. Oh, no, Elden Ring would be this year, right? Dream. Or Dreams, I think it was called.
Doesn't seem there's even one remake, huh?
Well, I wasn't reading all of them. There were a few in there, right? Like there were definitely a few in there. Halo Infinite. Yeah, I mean there were some big games the past couple of years, but they're like, yes, it can be frustrating to be like, oh, another remake. But I do think, like, I don't even think with Naughty Dog that this game was their main team. I think it was a side team working on the remake.
It was.
So whatever other game they're developing is still being developed, guys. It's not an either or; it's both. Right. They are big enough to do both at the same time.
Yeah, they're also making another Last of Us standalone multiplayer game.
Oh damn!
Right now, it's a multiplayer like shooter based in the world of The Last of Us.
Yeah. Something else I want to add too is, like you said, gaming's not very old, but I think what's important about the remakes that are the most important are the games for history's sake. The gaming media is the only media where some things are being lost forever. So maybe you guys have a few games you've played that were like online servers only. And then one day those servers were shut down and that game is gone forever.
Yep.
You can't ever play it again, which is sad because like, I don't want to be like a grandpa and be like, oh man, I want to share this with my grandkids, but it doesn't even exist anymore. Like that would be so sad to me. Yep. And so like, think about a game like Nintendo did a remake or remaster of Skyward Sword, Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, which historically you could only play with the motion controls of the Wiimote on the Wii. So like that game was dead essentially until they remade it. Like to me, that is an essential remake that needed to happen because Zelda especially is like an iconic franchise. So it's like, man, what, you can play every game except one? That just feels like let's figure out a way to make that happen. And good on Nintendo, I think, to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Listeners, if you have any more thoughts on this, we'd love to converse with you about it. So go ahead and send us an email to dadcasualpodcast@gmail.com. And maybe we can bring this back up one day.
Yeah,
throw out some more remakes.
Throw out your game, the number one game you want remade. That'd be cool.
What was your guys' number one remake?
What would it be? KOTOR. We've talked about this. I want Knights of the Old Republic to be remade so bad.
Yeah. I want Super Mario Sunshine.
Ooh, good one.
I love that game. And it still holds up, I think. But I think if they put it in Super Mario Odyssey, like engine and graphics, like I still think thematically and like gameplay wise, that's the best Mario game.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Preston? Any?
Oh man,
something?
Well, what I was thinking at first, honestly, was like WWF No Mercy or something like that. I mean, yeah, something like that would be incredible to play. Yeah. And
what would that feel like different than say like WWE 2K today? Would it feel different? Play different?
And that again, nostalgia, right? Hell of a drug. So I don't know if just you can never get that back. That feeling of playing a game that just blew your mind. I remember thinking those graphics were like incredible and on N64.
Yeah. And that rose-colored glasses syndrome, man.
Yeah.
But then honestly, man, all the games we just named, deep down in my heart, I'm excited to hear about a remake, but I'd be even more excited to hear about a new sequel. If you said KOTOR 3 and dropped a trailer, I would be losing my mind. Or if you said Mario Sunshine 2 and it's like brand new game, but that gameplay, bro, we would be pumped.
I probably would be more excited for that.
You're right. That sounds so awesome. But if you can still do a remake, I'm cool with that too. But man, just do new content. It's just more exciting to me.
Cool. All right. Let's move on to the next thing. Andy, you played a new game. Your Screens Fast is now over.
Yes.
Talk to us about Cult of the Lamb.
People are going to be like, how are you going to review a game while you couldn't play it? Yeah, I definitely cheated. That last, the third week, I kind of like kept my kids like, you guys still can't have screens. Then they would go to bed and I'd play at night. And I kind of got hooked. So, this game, Cult of the Lamb, I want to talk about it a little. So the basic premise, it is a hybrid of kind of a roguelike. So where you're doing like these dungeon runs where you're fighting things and you go room after room after room, and you only have so much health. And then if you end up dying, you kind of have to go all the way back. And if you want to restart, you can, or you can go back to your town. So it's half of that, but then it's also half of a town farming sim where you have this small town that you're planning on harvesting crops. You make sure that your people have like toilets and it remains sanitary and clean and no one gets sick. And there's a hospital, like you can build these little healing bays so people can heal. But the theme around it all is that your town is actually a cult and you are the cult leader.
Whoa.
You are the cult of the lamb. However, it's extremely like cartoony and whimsical. So there's some pretty dark symbolism in the game, but because it's so cartoony and like lighthearted, it's very masked. And so some of you out there might be like, I don't know if I want my kids playing that. And I think everyone has to make that judgment. I don't think I would let my kids play that yet. I think just like I wouldn't let them watch some adult shows or TV,
right?
Until they're mature enough to encounter that content and be able to absorb it, the way that I would expect them to. But man, it's so fun. So your god in it it's very Cthulhu, if you know, like Lovecraftian
sure, okay,
lore. So it's like your god is the one who waits, and he is this god that was cast down and chained up and put away, and you are the last of his followers, and he keeps bringing you back to life so that you can free him. Is the theme.
Okay.
He keeps, even no matter how many times you die, he keeps bringing you back to bed. But to play the game, you need to like run this cult, and it's really funny because it's like there's 4 main other gods. They call them the old gods, And it's so you have to keep doing, they all have their own dungeon that's themed differently. Like one of them is like a normal forest. One of them is like an underwater theme and like design. There's one that's like this like yellow, like poisonous with these frogs and different enemies. And there's one that's the last one is spiders. And it's like arachnid and super dark and it's difficult. But if you can destroy all of them, then you free your the one who waits. And so I haven't quite gotten all the way to the end. And I'll talk about some negatives of the game in a little bit of why I haven't. But man, it's super fun. And there's like the combat is great because like every run you get a weapon and you get a curse. So curses are their magic system. They call them curses. And you get a random one. So the first run you might get a knife that low damage, but man, you can attack really fast. And then your curse might be like tentacles that go like across the screen, or maybe they go in all directions, or maybe you drop a pool of acid on the ground where you're standing. So then you can like lure the enemies into it and they get poisoned. And it starts out real simple where it's just dodging, hitting, and maybe doing a few of those spells. And every time you defeat someone, you get more like of your spell energy. It's super fun, man. But to me, the best part of the game was the town building. Like, I found myself spending more time in my town, taking care of my people. And you totally can go dark with it because, again, it's a cult, right?
You can do whatever.
So you could like treat your people like resources and abuse them and sacrifice them so that you have more power in your next run or whatever you want to do. But like, I also knew that by keeping them happy, I also got power. Like I got it, like a lot of positive. So I took the best care of them. Like I had I set up all my farming. I made sure they were always fed. If they got sick, they were being popped into healing bays immediately. I was cleaning up the stalls, but because it's like, as you're going, you start with nothing. So in the beginning, it can be kind of hard because you're like, I don't have time to handle all this. And like, one of the funniest mechanics in the game, and feel free to ask questions. I know I'm kind of just going on here. You can have dissenters. So you can have these people that are like, they don't believe in the vision of the cult leader. Right?
Yeah, F this, I'm out.
Yeah, and they walk around with megaphones being like, he's a liar. He's a dirty.
That's incredible.
He's a dirty. And so at first I was like, I don't know how to shut this guy up. Like, I cannot get this guy to stop. And eventually it was like, he's going to leave in one day and take money with him. And sure enough, he left. And I was like, never again. I'm going to make sure. But it gets worse. So like every bad thing seems to spread. So like if people are sick and you can't take care of it, that sickness spreads. If people are dissenting and you don't take care of it, that spreads too. So everyone starts to not believe in you.
Right.
And so it's like, you're really trying to juggle all these things. But you ultimately like, I unlocked a prison and I was like, ooh, I can throw someone dissenting in prison. And then I can do like a therapy where I re-educate them.
Ah, okay.
Oh,
Gotcha. So tell me this, like, so it's a roguelike, you said,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So tell me about that cycle. So like what happens? How long does it take? Like what are the challenges that come about like through each different cycle?
So it takes about 10 minutes to 15 minutes, maybe in the later runs.
Oh, okay.
And what's really hard too is there's a real time counter. So when you're on your dungeon run, it'll be like, you'll get notifications and like so-and-so is starving because you didn't cook food before you left.
Wow.
And you have to finish your run before you can get back to them. And like they could die or get sick. And so like you have to time when you're going to leave your people. And that's the thing too, is yes, you're a cult leader, but your followers, like classic cult followers, are idiots. So like they are just, if you don't tell them what to do,
sorry for any of our cult following fans.
But it's like, they're just so dumb. They're just so dumb. And
Right.
so like, so what you're doing is you're going through and you're basically going thing after thing. And there are things called, as you do your run too, there's a tarot card dealer who like will give you a choice between one upgrade or another. That's only good for that run, but it'll be like, do you want an extra heart's your life? Or do you want to do maybe 1.5 times damage?
Right.
Or maybe like every time you get hit, everyone
Gotcha.
else gets hit. Like you reflect damage if someone does hit you, or like different things like that. And then at the end of every run, there's a mini boss. until you've beat all the mini bosses, which is usually 4 in every dungeon. Then you fight the main god of that realm. And if you can beat him, your followers love you and they like celebrate. And and that's the main goal, is to beat. So really, theoretically, you could do 4 dungeons 4 times each and you're done if you did it perfectly every time. But it's not like a roguelike where you're like, man, this is a really long, because if you beat that 10-minute dungeon, you don't have to do it ever again. You did it. Like, so it's pretty easy to make progress. It's not like that difficult.
Yeah. But so there is an end goal though. So it's a roguelike that eventually ends.
It does. There is an ending coming. And I'm excited to see. I definitely have anticipation of what's going to happen when I free my god. Like I'm not entirely sure I'm doing the right thing. I think like that might be a part of the game, but go ahead.
I was gonna say, so it seems like it has kind of like a Fable-esque quality when you were saying like you could do good or you can like murder everyone and like sacrifice them all and like be the bad guy.
Yeah, so a lot of that comes through the upgrade system in the game, which there are several, but they introduce them over time. So like me talking about it now might make it sound overwhelming, but so like one of the main ones is doctrines. So as your people, every day you can hold a sermon in your temple and like preach to your people or whatever. And the more like committed to you they are, the more like this like praise they'll give you in the moment. I know this sounds crazy, but then if you get enough, then you can, if you get your people high enough, you can unlock these doctrines. And so there's like 4 main upgrade trees. So there's the doctrine tree, which is like, you can pick of the 5 main categories, like, the afterlife is one of them. And like, say, like you pick the afterlife. One of my very first things was you can pick between 2 main doctrines that your people will believe, which is one of them is that sacrifice is a good thing, not a bad thing. So if you kill someone in ritual sacrifice, not everyone will freak out anymore because they used to. So that became a great way to kill a dissenter because you'd be like, bye.
Yeah.
And then everyone wouldn't panic. But some of the people also have like individual traits. Like sometimes people do have like, I'm afraid of death regardless. So you have to deal with that. But then like it was that or people are less afraid of dying naturally. So like I went with the sacrifice one just because it was like, it was an easy way to get rid of the dissenters, but I still had to really worry about people when they died of old age, because then people would panic and freak out. And so it's like, which one do you want to do? In each category, so there's like law and order, which is good for like the dissenters. There's one on like hard work, like farm harder, work harder. There's one on food. One of my favorite ones in the food category was this one called Throw a Feast. And instead of me cooking, which cooking was kind of monotonous in the game, but you could throw a feast and everybody, it was between that where everybody got full. Everyone was completely full and their faith went way up, which is like great. So like your dissenters wouldn't have much effect and everyone would be full. So that would be great right before going on a big dungeon run. Or I could do a very similar one, but a little riskier, a fast where it's no one would ask for food and would be okay being hungry for 3 full days and wouldn't say anything about it, which is like cool, a longer term thing. But then when the fast ends, everyone's starving. So I had to be ready. So I went with the feast one. It was pretty cool. So there's that upgrade tree. There's, then there's the tarot cards, which I talked about, which is like during the run, you can get temporary upgrades while you're running through. Then there's divine inspiration, which is like, in the beginning, you can't build all the buildings. It basically lets you choose. Now I want to be able to build a medical bay so that if someone's sick, I can send them there or whatever. And then lastly were the crown upgrades, which was like, those were permanent upgrades during combat. So now there are more curses available to you when you start the run. Maybe there are more things that you hadn't discovered yet, or like better weapons, or you do more damage overall. And those upgrades. So it was cool.
Can you do just one last question? Would you play it again and do it in a different way? Like say,
yeah, I have already thought about that. Yeah, I think I would. I think since I played so good, I was like, my fear was is that if everyone started dissenting and going crazy, I just would lose like so fast. Like I was like, I feel like you need them to love you. Like, but maybe there is a way to play the game. And again, because the doctrines you don't choose, you can't even do. So like some of the doctrines are rituals you can do. So like I said, I mentioned one, throw a feast. If you didn't choose that, you can never throw a feast for your people.
Oh, wow.
So like, that's kind of a big deal. Or like maybe you can't build a prison at all. Like that's a structure that you just can't build now. And I'm like, well, if I didn't have that, what would I do with my people who are dissenting? Or like, maybe there are other ways to do it. So obviously like the prison was the part of the bad path.
Right.
But maybe they're like, I did a little bit of a hybrid. I just did what in the moment sounded like the most useful, really, while also keeping everyone happy. There was this one, my favorite ritual was one called Ascent, which is where you could send one of your followers and they like floated up to heaven rather than dying and being sacrificed. They just like floated away. And to my followers, they didn't count that as dying. So I could get rid of someone. Oh. Everyone would love it, but it's super graphic because I don't know why they didn't count it as dying. The person would float up off screen and then bones and meat would fall from the sky.
Gosh.
But like in a super cartoony, whimsical way.
Right.
And so I don't know. It scratched this really fun itch of like, I like management games, but I really still want to like do combat and fighting. And I think it was one of the few games. There's a game called Moonlighter that does that, where like you moonlight, you're a shop owner who moonlights as a dungeon adventure, and then you sell the stuff you find on your adventure in your shop. So if you like the idea of this kind of game, but you're not really into like the cultish imagery and theme, I would recommend Moonlighter.
Gotcha. Okay, so two things. Where can people play this, and what is your rating?
Okay, so I forgot to get into negatives. You can play this. I played it on Switch because I was doing like my little screen fast, and so I was trying not to do it on TV and just kind of like play in bed. And it was an indie game. It felt like a good Switch game. But I believe it's everywhere. I believe you can play on PS5, PC, Xbox, and most systems. So one of the reasons I haven't finished the game is it plays like garbage on the Switch. It has awful frame drops. It truly, I cannot recommend playing it on Switch to anyone because in the beginning it was fine, but it started to have such bad frame drops. There were in some bosses where it was maybe playing below 10 frames a second, and I was getting hit by enemies and not seeing it happen. Like, it made the game. The fact that I beat it through with those problems still happening shows how not too hard it is. Though there is a difficulty setting in the beginning. You can select like a crazy hard mode. So I really would not recommend it on Switch. If I were to give it a rating on Switch, I'd give it a 2 out of 5, right? Like you just.
Sure.
It still plays, but it's not very good. It needs, which is a shame because there's some games on Switch that are better optimized. I don't want to completely blame the Switch. It's both. It's the hardware's lacking, and that developer, if they're going to release it on Switch, should have done better QA, quality assurance on that. But if you can get a system and it wasn't having those frame drop issues, the resolution was always beautiful and amazing. So, and the gameplay was really fun and engaging, and it was funny. This one time a follower was like, "Hey, you know what'd be funny, leader? And I would love you if you made that guy eat poop." And I was like, and then it was like, "If you don't do this, I'm losing faith in you." And I was like, "Well, shoot. Well, that means someone's going to be unhappy." Well, so I fed the guy. I said, okay, I fed him poop. I said, that would be funny. And then he ended up pooping himself and throwing up all over the stalls and stuff. But then I was able to collect that poop and put it in my fertilizer bin for my farm. And I grew more healthy fruits and vegetables. And you know what? It ended up being good for the community.
That's incredible. That's a good way to wrap that.
Is it?
Amazing.
So I would give it, it's not a AAA game. But as an indie game, I'd give it a top rating. I think I'll say 5 out of 5 because I loved it that much. I think it stacks up there as it is my number 2 game this year I played. Elden Ring is number 1.
Dang.
Okay. All right. All right, so with a little bit of time left, let's go ahead and move on to You Gotta Play This. Also, like maybe a little bit more of what we've been playing from Preston and me. I think Preston and I had kind of busy weeks and weren't able to get too much more in. I'll go first on Elden Ring. I played like 1 or 2 more sessions, got a few more levels, beat my first dungeon, like a mini dungeon. But I like had like one of the bosses where you walk through the mist wall and fight him. So I was proud of myself for that. Definitely gonna be playing some more.
I so want to watch you play.
Yeah, we need to do that this week. We can totally do that. But yeah, that's it. I'll keep mine short and sweet. Preston, did you get a chance to play anything?
I played Yakuza. Is that how you say that?
I think you called it Japanese Saints Row, but I'm okay with that. It's Yakuza Like a Dragon, right?
Yeah, and so you recommended, I don't know if it was on here or a text or what you were saying, but it was on the free PlayStation games of the month for August. And
yeah.
I download or put everything in my library just to have it. And I was like, you know what? I want to try this. I had a couple, hour and a half, something like that before we were going somewhere or doing something. And I was like, I'm going to try it. And so I tried it. It's definitely a different gameplay. And I'm the one here that's probably the most casual, but I don't know
nothing wrong with that,
what the genre is called, because it plays like a Saints Row type game walking around, but your fighting is different.
Yeah, it's an RPG. So like you walk around in what they call like an overworld.
Yep.
And then you find enemies and shops and stuff to interact with. And then once you interact with them, you go into the actual fight or shop or what have you.
Correct.
But it is, so there's 2 types of Yakuza games that we talked about. There's brawlers, and then this one is their first RPG. So this would be a pretty traditional, I guess, Japanese RPG.
Yeah, it was fun. I laughed a lot because it was ridiculous.
It's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. I want to play some more.
That's one that like I think could have been on your challenges, and we didn't even have to challenge you to play.
There
you go.
Get it? That's cool.
I challenge you to play 5 more hours.
I'm staying on my challenge for you, Breath of the Wild. I want you to get farther.
Yes, I want.
Okay,
please this week. I'm begging you.
Andy, now that you're kind of freed up, and I think we talked about it earlier, you're pretty much done with your previous challenges, right?
Yep. Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
WWE just done.
I need to get to it. I really thought I would play it this weekend. I'm gonna get it. What? It's 2 hours. I can play WWE. That was your challenge. I gotta honor it.
Yeah, we're just tacking on more homework now.
Okay, but Houston, give me one at least.
So we talked about this earlier. I think mine's going to be Monster Hunter World, and I want you to slay. Let's say 3 like main. It's kind of hard to define like what's like a main quest or not, but like it's pretty obvious like when you're fighting a big monster. So I want you to fight 3 big monsters, because there's a lot of like smaller, like more or less fetch quests. But it's a Capcom game. It's an action RPG. It's a lot of fun. It's kind of like there's some tricky combat, like pacing and like timing to kind of get down. So that's really fun. The environments are gorgeous. The monster design is really, really cool. It's kind of Souls-like a little bit, I would say. So I think you may actually enjoy it. And it is a long game. I don't necessarily think you need to play the whole thing to kind of get the gist of it. But if you like it, go ahead. But 3 big monsters.
I was very close to starting it once. Very close. So this is one of those games that without being challenged, I don't know if I would start, but I think I would probably like. So I'm kind of excited for it.
Yeah,
nice.
Right on.
And then Houston, you're playing Elden Ring.
I am.
Do you have a challenge from Preston? You don't have to do it now. I know Elden Ring's such a big game that if Preston needs to think, that's fine.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Take some time. Time.
Yeah, we'll get back to that, and maybe like you can tell me if you tell me midweek, we'll just recap next episode.
Yeah,
that sounds great. Cool. Well, that was fun. Sorry I talked so long on my review.
No.
I had a lot to talk about.
I love the passion. There was a lot of engagement and passion in this episode. I loved it.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Listeners, thank you so much for sticking around with us. This has been Dad Casual. Once again, if you have anything to say to us, talk bad about our mamas, any questions about video games, feel free to hit us up at dadcasualpodcast@gmail.com. Remember to like, subscribe, comment, hit the bell, all that kind of good stuff on all of our platforms. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.
Don't talk bad about my mama.